Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you. Happy to be joined by the guys. Tariq Spence, how you doing, man?
It's the end of the NFL season, hence I'm wearing black today.
Very good. And, well, it's always hockey season here.
Well, yeah, late 90s, Amerks used practice jersey here. These are the best of the jerseys. Like, this is when jersey technology was perfect.
Those are beautiful.
Super thick. You put it on, you start sweating immediately.
Pat Duffy, good to see you. Hey, you mentioned it, end of the football season. That's really where we're starting. God, I feel like, I've seen a lot of football seasons. I'm going to miss this one as much as any. This was a great year.
Well, we got a great treat with the playoffs. Let's be very fortunate, and a decent Super Bowl. I know a lot of people kind of thought it was kind of boring or kind of whatever it was. I thought we had a decent Super Bowl. We had a team that was expected to win down in the third quarter, come back and win in the fourth. Like the calls at the end of the game, it wasn't that heavily penalized halfway through the game anyway. We just have to enjoy it going forward. There's criticism of the refs, hence the entire year it's been criticism of the refs. So there's nothing new or crazy. You feel good for Drew Stafford. You feel good for everybody else, or Matthew Stafford. You feel good for Matthew Stafford. You feel good for everybody in Los Angeles. Everybody got their ring. It's great. Everybody back in the pool.
Is there a reason that the season you think was so good? I mean, that everything was so tight?
I think that the NFL has gotten everything they've wanted with the rule changes, both on and off the field, the last 15 years they've been trying to implement, right? You got the parity you wanted, seeing super juggernaut teams losing to teams that had 2-3 wins throughout the season. The passing game is exactly where you want it to be. I mean, fans complain about, the flags and the changes to the defenses so you can't guard a receiver, but let's be real, right? Like 4-yard runs off the edge don't make Sports Center, and you don't want to see those back on social media. And you've nurtured superstars. The NFL knows how to nurture their superstars. The NBA has gotten better at it. Major League Baseball and the NHL are terrible at it. Every great thing that the NFL could have done the last 15 years when it comes to the product on the field, they accomplished it this year.
It sounds like, at least partially, you're saying that the NFL is driven by social media, right?
Yeah.
And they allow themselves to be.
They embraced it. Like, they were the first league. I mean, and again, the NBA, the NBA was the first league to do it. The NFL, because of all the cachet and clout and connections that they have, were the ones that embraced it the most.
And it was hard to hate anybody in this Super Bowl. I mean, look at how much love Joe Burrow got going into the Super Bowl. Everybody kind of wanted this sort of the underdog team, this kid to come out of nowhere, win a Heisman Trophy, win a national championship, win a Super Bowl, maybe in a 3 or 4 year span. Didn't happen that way, but we're not mad that Stafford won a championship. He was kind of due. Detroit, I believe, was the second highest rated city to watch the Super Bowl, which means they were rooting for him.
They were. And not to be dismissed, I think, too, is the propensity of gambling.
Yeah.
Which is like more money is being than ever.
Which increased the ratings, I think, a lot. I don't think a lot of big parties. I think a lot of still dealing with COVID, so you're not going to get huge parties like you used to, but the gambling was the big deal. I mean, that drew in so many people that just wanted to find out how many yards the quarterback was going to get.
100%. Well, that gambling was great. Really good weekend with the Super Bowl. Really good weekend.
Lunch on Duffy.
Well, now that it's legal, we can talk about this. I mean, did you find yourself, personally, now that it was legal and you can find it everywhere and you can do it, it's okay, socially acceptable. Mm-hmm. Were you putting a lot more money into the sporting event?
It wasn't, I hadn't gambled on sports since I was in my late teens before. So once it went legal again, with it being in my hand, I was all over it. And what's insane about it, and what I love the most about it, is as the game changes, so do all the bets that you can make on that app. So I am engaged the entire time. I'm, to your point about social media, I am engaged on Twitter to discuss the game. I am engaged on the FanDuel app that I'm using to gamble on the game. And I am engaged in the television watching it. It is now
a total experience.
It is a fully legitimate, immersive experience to watch a football game.
And to think his team wasn't in the game. So you're sitting there basically enjoying the Super Bowl like everyone else, maybe an NFC game, championship game, AFC championship game, but you're engaged because you're just like, wait a minute. I'm going to make a gamble here.
Was that the same for you? I mean, the situation he described, you're both, young family men. I mean, is that your life for the NFL now?
It's a draw. I mean, look at fantasy football laid this down years ago, and now it's in the palm of your hand. So it's just very easy to just say, okay, all right, let's go with this bet. Okay, let's do a prop bet with that. Okay, let's go. Have some fun with it. Maybe put more juice into it. I was going to watch Super Bowl like anybody else.
Does it make it better?
Yes. I think it adds a little thrill to it that wasn't there before.
Same?
It's less about the game for me now, which is a little bit weird because I like breaking down the X's and O's, but yeah, it made it way better.
Doesn't everybody want to be right, though? Don't you look like a genius after making a great call?
When do I not look like a genius? You guys watch the show every week.
No, we'll be after the break. We'll find out.
This is the Rochester Press Box. We'll talk a little Buffalo Bills next.
So it was about 2 months ago, I sat in this chair and I talked about how awful Evander Kane, Sabres forward, was, right? Terrible human being off the ice, all the things he's been accused of, and then he wasn't producing at all. And the second I said that, Evander Kane became one of the most talented players in the NHL from that point up to now, leading the team in goals over that stretch, and he looks unstoppable, including an overtime winner the other night here, Sabres, San Jose Sharks. Then, it was about a month ago, I talked about how Jim Boeheim was being super selfish by sticking around this Syracuse team instead of walking away and letting the guys that were supposed to take over. And since I made that comment, they have 2 top 10 wins. They have road wins all over the place. Buzzer beaters against Clemson earlier this week, and I look like a complete idiot. So here's what I'm going to do. Because everything I say, the opposite happens, there is no way that the Buffalo Bills make the playoffs this season. There's no chance. Sean McDermott, the new coach, is absolutely awful. He's one of these guys where you're signing to save money, a young guy that you think you can grow with, and nothing's going to happen. And Tyrod is not going to come back, and he's not going to take a huge step forward next season. And they're not going to find a receiver in the top 3 rounds that's going to complement Sammy Watkins. And LaShawn McCoy is not going to rush for 1,800 yards and catch another 5 touchdown passes. None of that is going to happen. You're welcome.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Our Buffalo Bills segment brought to you by Ralph Honda. For 3 generations and celebrating 50 years as New York's first and oldest Honda dealer. Visit Ralph Honda today and find out how we do Honda right at ralphhonda.com. Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, co-favorites for the next Super Bowl championship.
Yeah, what's wrong about that? I mean, look, I'm surprised they're co-favorites. Now, look, I understand the Chiefs won that game, but it took an insane effort to win that game. I think that moving forward next season, that the Bills are a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs are. And I'm surprised that the Bills weren't slightly ahead of Kansas City when the odds came out for next season.
We're still in the window of opportunity. What do we got?
What do you got? It's
No. You gotta have notes for crying out. What happened to notes? Everybody's on their phone. I just took notes and wrote them down.
Well, let's share them.
Well, I think it's interesting. Kansas City going forward. Obviously, the Bills 15-2. Both of them are. I was looking at what are the possibilities on the other end of the worst teams to bet on right now. The Steelers are 50-1. Now, the Steelers are an interesting team. They lose Ben Roethlisberger. The Giants are 80-1. They don't have a quarterback. Who knows what's going to happen? So we still have an offseason to get to. We still have a draft to get to. Those look pretty interesting to moi.
It seems to me they're factoring in Denver the possibility of getting Aaron Rodgers there, too, because the odds on Denver are surprisingly low.
Can we talk about that for a second? Why in the world would Aaron Rodgers, I understand that his entire coaching staff went to Denver, but you're in the AFC West, right? You not only have the entire AFC to deal with in your own division, you have an Oakland team that looks like it's on a quick rebuild who made the playoffs. You have a Chargers team that just missed the playoffs with Justin Herbert, and you have a Chiefs team. Do we need to say anything more? It would be the most difficult path. I mean, you're talking about Aaron Rodgers who has faced the Lions, the Bears, his entire career to get to the playoffs. That's an insane idea on Aaron Rodgers' part.
Well, that factors in the whole Buffalo Bills discussion in that, if Rodgers comes over to the AFC, and in fact, Russell Wilson might too, you already have all the best young quarterbacks. The AFC is a monster.
Well, I mean, look at Cincinnati. I think they're 14-1. So are the Cowboys. So it's kind of this weird sort of world of where does the AFC sit here? Still got the Tennessee Titans, which nobody believes in, but somehow finds a way to get to some sort of divisional game or championship game running the football. So, I mean, we just don't know where all of these pieces are going to lie, especially in the NFC, because we don't know what's going to happen with the Rams. We don't even know if their coach is going to come back. And then you have Tampa Bay, you have Tom Brady. He's gone, but some of the older weapons there, you get a good quarterback. Tampa Bay goes back into discussion.
But here's the thing. Going back to your point about the AFC, right? Let's say Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers end up in the AFC in different divisions. I think that benefits Buffalo, because if you have Aaron Rodgers in Denver, those 4 teams are going to beat the hell out of each other all season long. All the Bills have to do is win their division, right? You win the division, you're in, you're good to go.
But you're also going to have to get the postseason is going to be a bear. 1,
maximum 2 of those teams out of those divisions are going to actually make the playoffs. I mean, you know how this is. When you have good teams playing each other, there are good teams that will miss the playoffs because of division records. I think that benefits the Bills more than it hurts the Bills.
If you want a long shot, by the way, the Jets are 150-1.
If you want to play the Jets.
If you want to hey, listen, the closer they get to the playoffs, then in the playoffs, they start to buy you out a little bit.
50-1. Pittsburgh's defense is not bad. They have weapons on offense. You find the right free agent quarterback, that is a good value pull at 50-1.
Perhaps. Window of opportunity with the Buffalo Bills. So we're in it now.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I think, I hate to be that guy, but you've got 2, maybe 3 more years of that window with the roster that you have here together. You don't want to get into that Seahawks Russell Wilson lull without having a ring on it. I mean, you got to move. You got to make your move now.
Still in control of the AFC East. We all know that full well. So nothing to be concerned about with Buffalo. But when you get to the playoffs, you have to deliver.
Yeah, we start talking draft tomorrow. Buffalo Bills segment brought to you by Ralph Honda, like it or not, is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
From travel to radio days to bloopers. Oh, and I have a special guest. You know Steve Hausman. He joins me on my next podcast at thegetawayguy.com.
Here's the Press Box trivia answer brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us.
Thanks for joining us, and welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. Our Like It or Not segment brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Attorneys with years of experience defending the accused don't go unprepared. Contact Ganguly Law today. Like it or not, we've been talking Super Bowl and football the whole time. The halftime show was pretty solidly reviewed, don't you think?
I loved it. I grew up on every single song, every single artist from when they started their career all the way through. It was fun to see. Obviously they're not going to be energetic and jumping around like Beyonce and Bruno Mars, but I enjoyed the music. We all enjoyed it. My wife and friends all enjoyed it as well. Halftime, I have to say the commercials though, not that good.
You know, I think they overreach a little bit.
What do you mean?
Well, they try to do too much in these commercials because it's like each one of these companies believes like we're the thing that they're watching now, not the game. Every one of them I thought was an overreach.
Okay, to be fair, and I mean this with all due respect, right? You are now at an age where you're not the primary demographic of the commercial shots
With
anymore.
all due respect.
I said with all due respect.
Yeah,
So
but
you
when
mean
say
you got
something
those
like that,
commercials?
I don't mean to offend you, but
They went back to like a baby commercial for one of the trading.
I laughed at the E-Trade baby commercial.
I forgot about that.
I like the Larry David one. I thought the Larry
funny.
David
That's
was pretty
Yeah, it was
clever.
funny.
Right at you, though. Right at you. With all due respect.
All right.
Guess what? With all due respect means I'm going to insult you. With all due respect.
Like it or not, Joe Burrow's outfit coming into the Super Bowl.
Okay, what are you doing in that outfit? Like the suit on its own, he looks like either like a Knight of the Roxbury or like a low-end backsplash in like some Pittsford kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Like with a little black. But then he puts the hat on it like he took a horse and buggy to the Super Bowl that night. Like, I can respect the turtleneck, blinged out necklace, and fur coat, right? Like, that's like quintessential American class and rich for new money. When you're taking risks as a kid from Southern Ohio with a suit and an Amish hat, which now that I think about it makes sense with the Amish hat, right? Like, whomever has been giving him tips about how to dress needs to stop. Because now that they lost that game, I love the kid. You look really dumb for all your outfits.
What are you talking? We built this kid up to be this guy, to be the next Joe Namath, to walk around. That's what we wanted. If he had gone in there and done a great job in that last possession, scored a touchdown and won the game, he'd be legendary. The cigars, the chains. This is what we like about Joe Burrow.
I mean, yeah, Home Goods would have been selling his brand of backsplash suits to put all over your kitchen if you. Come on, that outfit in the Super Bowl. I like the kid. I like the kid's style. He looked like an idiot.
It's a lot easier going in with that outfit than it is coming out a loser with that outfit. And like I heard somebody say, I don't know who it was, it says the one thing you can't do, the only thing that could make that worse is to come in with two outfits, one to wear if you lose.
I would have brought two outfits because you cannot walk out of that. After what happened, you can't walk out looking like, nice hat. What are you doing?
You can. You walk out, you walk in Joe Burrow, you walk out Joe Cool.
We're one and the same, it seems.
That's right. An alter ego.
From Ohio, no less. That's really the puzzle.
Southern Ohio.
Southern Ohio.
So Southern Ohio can't have any swagger? Is that what you're telling me?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Like it or not, brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Unfinished Business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back, and really, thank you for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Time for Unfinished Business. Pat starts us off.
I love Alex Tuch. If you're not familiar with the Buffalo Sabres, he's one of the pieces that came over in the Jack Eichel trade. You're going to be hearing a lot about Jack Eichel this week because, he played Wednesday night for the first time with the Vegas Golden Knights since the trade in Buffalo. But Alex Tuch, a guy who was a little more than a throw-in piece, but not the centerpiece, if I'm not mistaken, as we tape this, has 20 points in 17 games with the Sabres. And not only is he performing well on the ice, he's lovable. He's a Syracuse kid. He grew up a diehard Sabres fan, and it's not one of these like PR diehard Sabres fans. It's when he sits in interviews and is asked about the teams from the mid-90s up until about 5 years ago, he knows his stuff. Like a guy you want to sit at a bar and talk Sabres hockey with your Maxim Afenagenovs and your Jason Pominvilles and your Ryan Millers. They should have given him the C yesterday. If next season starts, because the Sabres currently don't have a captain after all the drama that happened with Eichel being traded in the season, if the season starts next year and there is not a giant C on Alex Tuch's sweater, we riot. And I go further. I don't care if his play dips as the season moves on or even next year. Sign this man to a contract extension because there's been not a lot to get excited about when it's come to Sabres hockey over the last decade. But this kid, I'm excited about.
After the news came out of the Tyler Sagg's death, of course, unfortunately in baseball with the Angels, there's been news of now what's going on with a current player that's still alive. His name is Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey was basically the pitcher for the Mets a few years back. Unfortunately, there were a bit of stories that never really hit the press that everybody was concerned about Matt Harvey then as they are now. This is an opportunity for Major League Baseball to actually bring in players that have suffered issues like drug issues, alcohol issues, find a way to develop a support system and handle this once and for all. Everybody, according to media reports, knew that Harvey had some sort of issue, but weren't able to figure out exactly what it was. Here was a guy who was a star pitcher, could have been an ace pitcher, but it all went down the tubes. His life is still alive. So is the fight to keep other players from going down the same path. You should use him as an example, like other players that have overcome this issue to try to help future players down the line. It doesn't start with Major League Baseball, but it can end there.
Vernon Hargreaves was the top-ranked college cornerback coming out of Florida in 2016 and a first-round draft pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. None of that matters now. Hargreaves will forever be that guy who ran onto the field to celebrate a touchdown with the Cincinnati teammates in the Super Bowl in a hoodie, thereby incurring a taunting penalty. It'll be remembered as one of the all-time really stupid things to happen in sports, which got me to thinking about some of the others. Losing a game on the wrong end of a Hail Mary pass is not unusual. Losing a game on the wrong end of a Hail Mary pass is unusual when it occurs after you have Gatorated your head coach in a premature victory celebration. That's what happened in 2002 to Kentucky, which after celebrating a victory, gave up a 74-yard game-losing touchdown to LSU and then coach Nick Saban. It even has a name. It's the Bluegrass Miracle. For the most recent baseball season, 2 outs and a man at second. Chicago's Javi Baez grounded to first. A force out ends the inning. But Pittsburgh's Will Craig doesn't see it that way. Baez retreats. Craig chases him back to home plate, then tries to get the runner trying to score from second, where Baez eventually winds up. But my personal favorite comes from the 1997 NFL season and the Washington quarterback, Gus Frerotte, who in an otherwise meaningless game against the New York Giants celebrated a touchdown by spiking his head. He wound up with a sprained neck and a concussion. Frerotte survived that indignity and went on to play another 12 seasons in the NFL, but that's all we remember him for. It's human nature, I guess, to measure somebody by the worst moment of their life, but there you go. We're just piling on.
In the defense of Hargreaves, if I was in a hoodie on the sideline, I also would have done exactly what he did. It was very exciting, right? How do you get swept up?
The happiest guy in the world is Mark Sanchez that you didn't bring up butt fumble.
Okay, but now that you did.
But it's too late now. Sorry, Mark.
That is our program. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week with the Rochester Press Box.